Believe it or not, I do watch live action movies, and one of my favorite genres is the Hollywood musical, particularly from the Golden Age. I rewatched Singin' in the Rain, which is amazing. It's essentially a story about Hollywood and these actors transitioning from the silent era to the talkie era, and who can and who can't make it, romance, music, action, betrayal, all that good stuff. It was mostly written around these pre-existing songs, which are really, really good. And as always, Gene Kelly, the male romantic lead, has a big random dance scene in the middle of the movie just to show off what an awesome dancer he is, and it's amazing. I'm a big fan of the movie, needless to say. And it's truly impressive, just the amount of artistry and the sheer skill that Gene Kelly, the late Debbie Reynolds, and Donald O'Connor have. Especially in the famous Make 'em Laugh sequence where Donald O'Connor essentially reenacts one of his old vaudeville acts. He's doing flips and tricks, and it's a plethora of visual comedy and camera work in that scene. It's learning about some of the behind the scenes about how Gene Kelly was a perfectionist and quite abusive to Debbie Reynolds, who was 20 years old and had no dancing experience, was taught by Fred Astaire, and how Donald O'Connor had to be bedridden for 3 days after his famous Make 'em Laugh sequence. It makes me grateful for what we have now in the present, because now there's stunt doubles, first aid, lawsuits. Well, there were lawsuits back then. A lot of the Golden Stars of Hollywood were owned by the studios. And yeah, there's bad contracts that still happen nowadays, but significantly worse in the beginning of Hollywood, and it's utterly fascinating to watch. Because on the one hand, you got brilliant art, but behind the scenes you had drugs and drug abuse and physical abuse and sexual abuse and power dynamics and people cloying for fame and people cloying for money. Hollywood really is so glamorous and yet so sleazy at the same time. And I've noticed that these are debates that are still going on nowadays. Can you separate the art from the artist? It is also separate, getting on a little less deep of a note. I saw a meme that showed it was a picture of Gene Kelly, Donald O'Connor, and Debbie Reynolds together and said, the live-action Animaniacs had perfect casting. And then I thought about it, it's like, wow, those three are absolutely what the Animaniacs would look like in live action. I recommend Googling it, it's pretty funny. And honestly, even the late Debbie Reynolds, who this movie, Singin' in the Rain, was my introduction to her, it was, for someone who had no prior experience dancing and was taught by the great Fred Astaire, she holds her own pretty well, even with the two famous vaudeville giants. And it's utterly impressive. She once said, supposedly, that childbirth and making this movie were the two hardest things she's ever done in her life. Yowza. So, I'm fascinated to see how Hollywood kind of worked. I know Hollywood likes those movies too. They're endlessly fascinating. The songs are so memorable and so catchy. What else is there to say? I can't really analyze it too much because it is so enjoyable and so engaging and so smart. It feels like if you didn't know about all the abuse that happened behind the scenes, about how the actors treated each other, about what Hollywood was like back then, you'd think that this was a really fun movie to make because there is so much talent and so much artistry and so much skill on screen. And while you do get a lot of that, there is still buckets and buckets of talent out there. There's something about the golden age of Hollywood and just the sheer acrobatics that a lot of people pulled off. That, at least for the, you don't really see too many movie musicals, so you're not really seeing too much vaudeville, at least not in the public eye, which is a shame. I'd love to see more of that. Though I hear movie musicals are making a comeback with The Greatest Showman, which I still need to see. I heard that's really catchy. That has a big following. And despite what people say otherwise, Mamma Mia 2 has catchy music. Oh, I like ABBA. I wonder if... Hey, and now with the rise of Crazy Ex-Girlfriend, I wonder if we're going to get the movie musical genre back. That's exciting to see. Singin' in the Rain, it's a classic. It's fully deserves to be one of those movies you have to see before you die. Also, I heard this story a lot growing up. My grandpa got drunk with Gene Kelly. I think I said that in one of these videos, but I'm very, very proud of that.